Hi everybody, welcome back to 5-Minute Art, and we are going to get started here in just a minute. Let me show you what we're doing today. This says possibilities and it's never too late. And it's funny because this time as I was filming, I decided that I was going to be totally organized. I was going to have everything ready. Had it all planned out. I wasn't feeling it. It just wasn't there. So I guess I've learned that I'm good at spur of the moment, because most of the time when I do the 5-minute art, I'm kind of making it up as I go. So when I shut off the camera though, then I got inspired and I added a few things. So you'll notice that this looks a little different than when I actually finished filming what we were doing. So sorry about that. Anyway, next time I'll just wing it like I normally do. But it is never too late to realize your dreams and your passions. And it doesn't matter what age you are, where you are in life, go for it. Find your dreams, find your passions, pursue it. So let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to 5-Minute Art. Let's dive right in. So this is an 8x10 piece of MDF board. And what I've done so far is I have adhered to my MDF board with matte medium. Just some random pieces. I've got 2 clock faces, and then they were just on regular pieces of paper like this, and I cut them out. I printed them and cut them out. And then I had some other like postcards and telegraphs and things like that that I cut out and I put along the sides here. Then I let that dry, and I added a couple of, I did some numbers and I did some letters. I did that here, and I did this one like that. This stencil is by Crafter's Workshop, and this is by Ranger. This one's by Ranger. So that's what I've done so far, and it is completely dry. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, now that it's dry, and I'm going to do a wash on it, just a brown wash to kind of tone it down just a little bit and give it a little bit more aged look. And I'm going to wet this just a tad and then grab a rag and dip my paint in like that and give it a go. Okay, now that this has got a wash on it, I dried it and it is dry. And now we get to try a fun new stencil. This is by Americana. It is a 12x12, so because it's so big, it's going to overlap, and you got to kind of find some spots that you can stick some tape to hold it down, because we're going to be working this just a little bit. So, and I want to try and get the best design where I want to place it. So I'm thinking I'm going right here. Actually, no, I'm going to go this way. That. So many options. Alright. So I've got this tape down so it'll stay in one place, and I'm going to take my makeup sponge and some hot pink. It says bright magenta, and because this is so small, You want to make sure that it's pretty dry on your makeup sponge so that it doesn't bleed underneath, and then you just go back over it to darken it so that you don't get a lot on there and it seeps underneath. So I'm going to hold this down too because I only have a couple spots where the tape is holding because there's not any place to put it. So I'm just going to fill this in. Okay, I've got this filled in, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to this. So I've got, this is wine, and I'm going to mix it with my hot pink. Okay, so I've got all of my different colors on here, and I'm going to pull this up and give it a dry. Okay, this is dry now, and my next step is to use my charcoal pencil and go back in and shade this in, all of them. So this is going to take a little bit of time. Okay, this has been sprayed with my Fix-A-Tim, and now we're ready to add some more goodness. This is an oil-based paint pen, and it's white. And we're just going to add some additional doodles and texture. Okay, doodles are done, dry. Now we're going to add some additional paint. I'm going to work with a few colors. This is called Pink Blast. This is Berry. And some of my bright orange that I'll probably mix with the three. And my favorite, aqua. So I've added just some swipes with the brush, just very lightly, almost a dry brush, so you can see the strokes, and it's thin enough that you can still see what's going on underneath. Now what I'm going to do, and it's dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my water bottle handy, take the same brush, and I'm going to load my brush pretty heavily and dab up here with my turquoise, kind of pulling it down a little bit, making sure that it's pretty heavy, kind of up in this corner here. And then I'm going to give it a spray. And as the water is running, I'm going to help it I'm going to continue this top and bottom. Okay, so I've done that, and I've dried it. It's pretty dry, but I wanted it to be dry because the next layer that I do, because I'm going to do the same thing, I don't want it to blend. Sometimes I do, and I will leave it wet and it blends really beautifully, but I want it to be distinct colors. So I'm going to do the same thing with my... Okay, so this, I've done the dripping of the paint, and now we're getting ready to move on to the next step. So what I've done is I just took a book page, and I have a stencil of a butterfly, and I just laid it down, traced it out, and cut it out. And we're going to put that on the page with matte medium, and then we'll move. Okay, that's dry. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get my stamps out, and I'm going to stamp on here possibilities. And I have this book called Wise Women, and it's just great quotes. It's by, no, I don't know. It's written by Karen Lehrman, illustrated by Isaac. But anyway, there's a quote here, and it's funny because it's Julia Child. She said, "It's never too late to be what you might have been." But the story here talks about Julia Child, and she was 49 when she published her first book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking. And she went on, of course, as we know, to be an amazing person in the field of cooking. And she was one of the first, I mean, I watch the Food Network channel all the time, but she was one of the first to actually have a TV show about cooking. But she was 49 years old, and so it's just never too late to act on your passions and your dreams. And the possibilities are endless as long as we don't give up the dream, and we keep striving and working towards our passions and our desires. So I'm gonna with my stamps put in here possibilities, and then down here I'm gonna write in, it's never too late, because it isn't. And if you think that you missed the boat, you haven't. It took me a very long time to finally decide to do what I'm doing full time, and it's always an adventure for sure, but worth every minute of it. So don't give up. You can do it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll get back to you. Okay, so stamp that in. I've written this in, and now I'm going to go back in and add some shading to the butterfly with my charcoal pencil and brown pastel. So I did the shading in here, and as I was doing the shading, I didn't like what I had written, so I cleaned it off. It's a great thing about charcoal. I cleaned it off, and I went back in with my Micron pen, and I wrote in, "It's never too late." And then I went back in, kind of spur of the moment, and just wrote in some words like tell your story, passion, desire, dream. I like it. I like how it looks. And now I'm going to add some white highlights and some additional aging, and we're almost done. Things, paint the sides black, and we are done. I'm doing a little impromptu video here. You know how I said earlier that I was being super organized? I thought someone might find this funny, because as I said that, I looked around and I'm like, this is me organized? Let me show you. This is what happens after a whirlwind painting session. Look at this craziness. This is me organized. Oh my gosh. I guess this is the creative process at work, right? Lord help me. Alright, just a little funny. Thought you might enjoy that. I got a little chuckle out of it. All my, my organization. Alright. Have a great day.